Okay, I'm going to say that the curve that we've been talking about in previous exercises is a graph of what we call a function y equals f of x. Now, this is a notation that most people should be familiar with this notation when they come into pre-calculus course, but most people don't understand it all that well, even if they are familiar with it. So if you don't understand it, we're going to explain it, and hopefully you'll be okay with that. Okay, it's just f of x is just a way of naming the function that corresponds to this curve. Okay, there's some function that's defined by this curve, and that's it. Now I've got little green arrows, one here, one here, one here, just pointing to different points on the curve. The whole curve is our function in this case. Now, if you had pre-calculus or had an algebra 2 course, and maybe some high school analysis, you know that most functions have formulas, but they don't have to have formulas. I just defined a perfectly good function. I could come up with a formula that has maybe pretty close to this shape, but it wouldn't probably exactly mimic this particular curve. Okay, the curve itself defines the function. How does the curve define the function? Well, here we got again a statement. The graph represents a function y equals f of x, and f of x is a rule telling us the y coordinate for each x. And what's the rule for this function? Here the rule is it's the vertical line for x by the y value where it intersects our graph, where the vertical line intersects our graph. Exactly what we did previously. So if x equals 3, y equals f of x, which is then approximately, to my kind of bad approximation here, 2.7 as we estimated previously. Now, since that's our estimate, we write, since x was 3 when y was 2.7, we write f of 3 equals 2.7. The rule tells us if x is 3, y is 2.7. Now we can make other estimates. So let's estimate what is f of, let's go with trying to find a good one that doesn't interfere too much with anything else in the graph. What is f of -3? Okay. Now, what are we going to do? Well, ask ourselves, -3 is here in the place of x. It's an x value because only x values go in the parentheses. Here it is, f of x. That's our function. -3 is an x value. Vertical line through -3. Running out of colors here. Do I have a good color? Go with yellow, although sometimes that's hard to distinguish from white by the time the camera is interpreting it. So this is a line where x equals -3. Here's the graph point. And here is what it looks like we've pretty much nailed y value 2. Okay, so vertical line, x equals -3. intersects the graph. Y equals 2. So f of -3 is approximately equal. This is a graph, these lines aren't perfect. But it's pretty darn close to 2. It's approximately 2. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. Now actually, we'll kind of wrap this up. Okay, so this is a little introduction to function notation. There's much more that we do with function notation, but it gives you the general concept of a function. As long as you can answer the question, what is the value of f of x? With one single answer, it's a function. And since every vertical line that you could draw on this graph intersects the graph at just exactly one point, then this graph does represent function. It's an important idea. A little bit more formally defined in your textbook, but there's the idea.